Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Fitness Pollinator podcast. I'm your host, Travis Pollen, and I'm joined today by Kevin Mullins. Kevin is a personal trainer based in Washington, D.C. with over 7 years experience. He's been featured on TonyGentlecore.com, MedRx, Men's and Women's Health, and the Washington Post. He also maintains an excellent blog himself. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, thanks a lot, Travis. It's an honor to be on your podcast, brother.
Thank you. So let's start just by having you tell us a little bit about you and how you got into personal training.
It's funny. I like to tell this story because people, when they meet trainers, a lot of times they picture you as always like into push-ups and sit-ups, and you were the kid running around nonstop.
Wait, let me go do my quick set of push-ups.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let me go step it off to the side. But it's like when I was 17, 18, I wasn't really into working out. I loved playing sports. I was really into high school athletics. I liked baseball, football. But I didn't do the working out. And then I went on a cruise, believe it or not, and I didn't get the attention I thought I deserved as an 18-year-old. Because you know how it is as a guy. You walk into the room, you think you should dominate it. And so I started working out. And then one thing kind of started building on top of each other. And I found myself searching for knowledge and constantly looking to get better myself. And then, I don't know, maybe it was something innate in me, but I started helping my friends. I actually got a job for General Nutrition Center, good old GNC. So I was handing out workout tips along with supplements, and it became a bit of an addiction. Went to University of Maryland, got my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, got my original CPT. And since then, it's just been kind of, building on that education base. But it all started for the most vain of reasons.
That's never a bad place to start. Especially considering as personal trainers, there's an expectation that we should look the part.
Yeah.
And right or wrong, it does attract clients. So.
Yeah, it's interesting how marketing works for a lot of people. It's, oh, this person's a trainer. Well, they don't look like a trainer. Little do you know that person's got like a PhD,
Yeah, I was just reading somebody on social media was talking about that the other day. Like he was saying it's a false dichotomy because there you have the science nerd who looks like he never lifts versus the bodybuilder who does look like he lifts, but he might not know anything about what he's doing because the science nerd might be programming for him.
Yeah.
So the idea is you want to fuse those two things.
Well, I remember when I met Dean Somerset and Tony Gentlecore at one of their clinics, and somebody was joking around with Dean for a hot second, and I remember him saying, he's like, I might not look like the cover model, but he's like, I know the things the cover model needs to know.
Tony and Dean are...
They're a pair. They're a pair.
So they came and you did one of their shoulder and hip things?
Yeah, they did it just outside of Dulles Airport, which isn't far from D.C. It's actually down in Virginia, but it was really cool. I actually only got to do one day because I had a previous charity engagement. I'm really sad I missed the second day, but those guys dropped more knowledge bombs than I don't think I've ever been in a room where I got smarter by the minute.
I interviewed Dean and Tony actually for an article I wrote a few months ago, and I got both of their responses were amazing. But like I didn't even understand half the stuff that Dean wrote. I was like, Dean, has anybody ever told you how smart you are? And I'm sure he gets that a lot.
Yeah, every now and again when somebody in Canada does something, I have to tweet him and just be like, yo, Canada.
Yeah. So I was reading a little bit on your website, and you talk about how when you first started out, it was all biceps and chest. This is, just like any male 20-year-old lifter. But how has your training philosophy evolved from there to, taking Tony and Dean's shoulder and hip seminar?
Well, when it comes to my own body, I like to call myself experimental.
Mm-hmm.
I like trying new things. Somebody's like, hey, come do this CrossFit workout. I'm like, all right, hey, come take a long run. Okay. Like for me personally, I just like trying new things. But I still like my big three, sticking with the compound lifts. But as far as my clients go, I think the one thing that really has changed for me over the years is being able to decipher what the client really wants versus what I want from my client.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when you're a young trainer, the client comes in, they're like, hey, I just want to get in shape. I want to lose a few pounds. You're like, I'm going to throw some delts on you, and I'm going to give you ripped abs, and your glutes are going to be able to crack diamonds. It's going to be great.
And we're all going to squat 400 pounds.
Exactly. And then she's sitting there, she's like, I'm 83. What do you mean? But like, for my clients, it's the evolution is more come through the listening. I mean, the education and the certifications are absolutely glorious, and they open up a whole world of knowledge you didn't have previously. But if you're not willing to stop and really listen to what the client, the images they see, one of my favorite questions to ask when I'm interviewing is, you know, what are body types that you've always been drawn to? Like, tell me someone famous or an athlete that you've always kind of wanted to look like. And then I could kind of tell right there what they're, especially with women, because they're gonna pick somebody that they want to look like more so than even men. We try to best the person, and it allows you to understand their orientation a little bit as well, not just what they want to look like, but you know, what is their view of fitness? Do they look at the really strong Jessica Biel or like the athletes? Or are they looking for just like your standard, oh, she's skinny, or, you know, that whole range in there?
Yeah, I really like that because somebody can say, oh, I want to tone and blah, blah, blah. But what does that really mean? But if you have them say, I want to look like this person, then that really does give you a better idea.
Exactly. And I think also it's getting them out of the abstract. I tell clients all the time, I ask the question, I'm like, so what do you want to accomplish? And they're like, I just want to be in better shape. Do you want to be a triangle? Do you want to be an octagon? Like, what shape do you want to be? and they kind of look at me sideways because I'm just getting to know them. I'm just like, no, let's get more specific. Like, living in the abstract sounds good in your brain, but just like any real goal setting, until we create something somewhat concrete, we have a really hard time accomplishing or even making any progress in that direction.
Right. And yeah, too often when people come in with like that vague notion that they want to get more fit, you have to set some more concrete goals because otherwise they just lose track after a month.
Well, I find that they stray too because shape is also relevant to how you're feeling. Like, you go have a bender on the weekend, have a couple too many drinks, eat a couple too many pulled pork sandwiches, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I need to lose weight. I feel chubby.
Right.
Or if you worked your tail off doing like manual labor all weekend, barely got any meals in, you're like, oh, I feel like I'm emaciated. I'm falling away. Like, we're very subjective to moment, day-to-day changes. So that shape they want to be on Monday could be very different on Friday based on their emotions.
For sure. Yeah, it's the momentary drive to do something, and then the long-term view can be very different.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of things too, probably with your style of training, where people come in and it seems like it's very performance oriented. You're always looking for ways, I know with you especially, to do cool things with your own body.
Yeah.
And you're just like, watch me work. But like, what are you seeing?
I mean, definitely the same thing as you. Like, people coming in, they're like, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. And I'm like, well, what happens after you lose those 10 pounds? Or how, I always say, instead of having a weight loss goal, I want you to have a performance goal. So like for me, I want to be able to do that muscle up or like get those 10 unbroken muscle ups. What do I need to do to get there? Not like, okay, I want to get my lats bigger and drop a couple pounds or put a couple pounds of muscle on, because that stuff is going to come as a byproduct of the performance goal. And that's what I try to teach people.
And that's a good way of orienting too. I always tell people, like, you know, give me your main goal. All right, let's pick a performance goal. And the thing that blows my mind the most, at least for the people I encounter, is how many people don't really have performance goals. They're just kind of like,
well, they don't
do a push-up.
And that's perfect.
Yeah.
Do a push-up, do a pull-up. But yeah, people, I guess they don't know you don't know what you don't know. So if you're completely brand new to this, then you might even think that you already can do a push-up. And then we look at it and we're like,
no, that doesn't count.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of people too that just they are completely foreign to their body too. I mean, I'm working down here in DC. It's a very affluent area. I'm surrounded by PhDs and lawyers and you name it. And
so many universities, yeah.
So many universities and so many incredibly intelligent people. And I meet them, and like sometimes I just want to grab a drink or coffee with them because I want to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
When they step into my arena, I'm amazed at how much of a sacrifice they made with their own body, their nutrition.
Oh yeah.
To get where they are, you know, they're a partner at a huge law firm, and they're closing out millions of dollars of cases a month. Yet they can't even walk on a treadmill for 10 minutes without looking like they just ran a marathon. You know,
mm-hmm.
It's just it baffles me. And a lot of times they don't appear out of shape, and that's what's crazy.
Skinny fat.
They look like they could lose a few. This is men and women both. They look like they could lose a few. They certainly don't look like they're ready for the cover of a magazine. But at the same time, you look at them and you're like, oh, that's just an average Joe or Jane. And then you get them in the gym and you go, holy crap, you really have no idea what you're doing with your body.
Yeah, and I often think, like, where do we, use it or lose it? But where do we lose it from being like these active kids on the monkey bars on the playgrounds to then not being able to hang from the pull-up bar? And it's like you just said, when people become so career-oriented that working out falls by the wayside. But I think our job is also just to teach people, like, you wake up and you do 5 minutes of exercise, and that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as that to start, plus coming to see you and me for a couple times a week.
Exactly. I actually teach like a 7 a.m. boot camp class on Friday mornings. And one of my taglines, especially when someone new comes into the room, they're like, what do I expect? And you can always see the timid. It's called Superhuman. So I think the title says a lot, but I'm just like, you're going to get more done than all of your friends before 8 a.m. You have wiped the floor with all of your friends by 8 a.m.
That's what I was a swimmer in high school and college, and that was kind of our claim to fame because we practiced early in the morning. So, if we were in and out of the pool by 7 a.m., we said we just accomplished more in a day than most people, or we just accomplished more before 7 a.m. than most people will in their entire day.
And it's so true.
So we talk about some of the mistakes that beginners make in the gym, but what's a mistake that you made as a young trainer?
I think my number one mistake that I was making is I always had the desire to coach more advanced things, but I didn't necessarily have a full comprehension of the lifts. Now, I wasn't dumb enough to do things recklessly, but I just didn't have that depth and that grasp of what the lift really is, why you're doing it, what it feels like to be able to coach it successfully. I know that especially with squats. I've never been a great squatter. I don't know. I don't like that feeling in my hips. Deadlifts I love, but just experimenting with different foot positions and things, then I suddenly became, oh, wow, this is really what we're trying to accomplish with the squat is this motion. So I would say my biggest mistake early on was just like, oh, well, you want to get muscles, so you need to squat and deadlift and bench and row and press. And then not understanding a lot of the simple things you can do for, prehab and injury prevention that really work. You look at some of the stuff Tony talks about with his shoulder mobility. You do a couple simple drills right before you bench press, and it's like that achy shoulder is gone.
Yeah, it's amazing. Along those lines, when I was starting, I didn't have an understanding of those big compound lifts like I do now. Not only like doing them myself in order to be able to coach them, but I also was constantly trying to change things up so that we wouldn't do the same workout 2 times in a row. And it's nice to make things different, but it was almost, for me, more so than the client, because I think the client would have liked to come in and have some continuity. And I was just like, let me show you these 12 new exercises.
And it's amazing when you're young as a trainer, you have this idea that, oh my God, if I'm not entertaining and wowing my client every 30 seconds, they're going to get so bored with me. And I have to do something new every minute, or else this person's going to be like, wow, this sucks. I remember when I first got hired where I'm at now, there was a trainer there that I swear to God, he used 14 pieces of equipment at the same time. And I don't mean like supersets where he was bouncing around. I mean like he had a post-suit ball and a body bar and a
oh my God, circus act.
Like, exactly. And he's like, all right, we're gonna squat. And I'm sitting there, and I got my client right next to him, and we're squatting on the barbell. And I'm just like, this is better.
Yeah, he's got like the cone on the head, the body blade here, and they're standing on the Bosu.
The body blade.
Yeah.
I recently saw a gentleman. He was on the Bosu ball, balancing on one foot, hitting the body blade, and then he proceeds to take a medicine ball with handles, and he's flipping it over his back and catching it in front of himself over and over again. And I'm
a skeptic.
Right? But he's not a trainer. He's
yeah.
just a guy.
Yeah.
But it was funny to me because there was a part of me that was like, I want to ask him if he's P.T. Barnum. Like,
yeah.
Are you in circus? Like,
so
that's a pretty cool trick.
At your gym, is like part of your job description, are you allowed to go up to these people and offer them tips? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a full. I work at Equinox.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a tier 3+ trainer there, and so it's kind of a lead generation thing too, right?
Yeah.
You're out there sharing, of course, if you blow somebody's mind, I can say that most of my leads I probably get just because I'm like, does that hurt your back when you deadlift? All right, let me show you why, and then we fix it. And I remember Dean said, that's one of Dean's quotes I remember was, if you really want to help somebody, get them out of pain. And so once somebody gets out of pain, it's a game changer. And so, but the stuff you see in gyms, I thought when I left like the Gold's Gym circuit, I would see less because people have these degrees and they're like super intelligent.
It's
stuff I see.
It's the same everywhere.
There's a girl who runs on our treadmill and she's reading the whole time. And every now and again, I think she forgets she's running. She just stops moving. And
wow, I want to know what she's reading. Does she actually fall off or just like
she
stumbles?
Really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she's probably fallen once or twice.
Yeah.
But she'll stumble really good. Like she completely forgets she's reading. I think she's into like 50 Shades of Grey or something. I don't know.
I think if I fell once, I would never get back on a treadmill.
Never. Yeah. And done.
Yeah. So you were Precision Nutrition certified, right?
Yeah.
What I mean, obviously nutrition is a huge component of the whole fitness thing. You write a little bit about coaching habits as opposed to just, here, follow this diet. Can you talk about the importance of habit-based nutrition?
For a while, even before the Precision Nutrition, I came to the realization that it's really tough to just be like, hi, I'm Kevin Mullins. I'm your trainer. I want you to eat this tuna and this broccoli. And I want you to drink enough water to drown a fish, and I want you to not have any carbs ever again. All right, we're going to get you ripped. And if that person in a vacuum were able to follow that, you would get results, right?
Yeah.
We see it in bodybuilding and figure and fitness and model prep, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We know when we cut out a lot of the junk and we eat vegetables and protein, we get a tremendous result. However, it's a quick way to either A, tick off a client, B, lose a client, or C, lose the client's trust in you because they think you're going to be too rigid.
Yep.
And so
have them lie even.
Exactly. And they want to have a life. And I will say the social lives of my clients I'm jealous. They're in this embassy party or doing this, that, or the other. So for me, it's about habits. And actually more recently since Precision Nutrition, I'm more about addition than I am subtraction. A lot of times when we talk about dieting, we're so focused on, hey, I need you to take out that bread. Hey, I need you to eat less of this, drink less wine, do less of this. But for me, it's like, let's start with addition. Let's add to your life before we go taking away things that actually probably make you a little bit happy.
Right.
And if we're tactical with our additions, oftentimes we can do subtraction at the same time because they won't have the hunger cravings for it. So a lot of my favorite things to do is just increase the protein intake at breakfast and increase the vegetable intake at breakfast. That way, they're getting 2 or 3 vegetables, an increase in protein. And a lot of times that satiety will take them through that snacky period or that second latte period where they hit up Starbucks for the second time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a week later, they're talking to me. They're like, actually, I didn't have any snacks. Like, I didn't get a bagel any day this week. And you're like, well, we added protein and nutrient-dense vegetables. And as a byproduct, we actually subtracted out the grainy carbohydrate you really didn't need. And so for me, coaching habits is important because from the get-go for me as a trainer, it's all about relationship building. I don't know if it's because I'm an only child or what, but I kind of really like getting to know people. I don't like superficial relationships. I don't like being like, hey, buddy, see you again. But I do like getting in there, and I call them carrots, like a carrot leads a horse. When you can get those little carrots with people and you know exactly what motivates them, what demotivates them, and you build a friendship on top of your training relationship, and I say on top, not underneath, you can get a lot more success. And one of those ways is to coach habits with dieting and not just, here, eat broccoli, go away.
Yeah. For me, like, the nutrition component is so tough, not for me, but for when I'm dealing with people, because people, like, they have a different things work for different people. So you can say, like, just be smart, like, don't buy stupid stuff if you don't have it in the house. And that works for people. And then some people need some more rigid guidelines, like, okay, here's exactly what you, like, the portion that you need to be eating at this part of the day. And then some people, if that doesn't work, they really do need to count all their calories and figure out what the right macronutrient breakdown is for them. And so it goes in tiers, and sometimes there's a little bit of trial and error, but eventually you figure out what works.
But I feel like those really high-end tiers, just like the really low-end tier, identify themselves really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you get a person that's like, wait, I skipped the burger at McDonald's and just got the fries and Coke because I thought it was healthier. You know that person knows nothing about nutrition. But the same way somebody comes to me and they're like, I want to eat 1750. I want to make sure that I'm 45 to 50% protein. I've been reading about this. Like when you get those people, like I call them go-getters. Just when you get a go-getter, then your job is to elevate your service too. So that point, I would say, okay, let's still take a look at your habits, because chances are we all have one or two habits that if we broke, we'd suddenly have a lot less body fat or a little bit more muscle. Mm-hmm. Especially even if you look at trainers, a lot of us will go hours without eating.
Right.
And we just gorge because we know we got another 4 sessions. So with those people, you look at the habits, but chances are you're not going to find a ton of flaws. So then it does get down to okay, let's do some carb cycling, or let's ramp up the fats and go really heavy for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll backload with the carbs in a couple of weeks. You know, all the different things that you can do to really stimulate crazy change. But I feel like those tier 3s or those high level clients, they identify themselves pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a good point. You basically, I mean, even it's the same with the exercise aspect of it. You're going to start with that next level up from where the person is. So you're meeting the person where they are, and then you're applying your knowledge. But for the person who skips the burger and just has the fries and the Coke, like, they don't need to know that their goal is 1750 calories and what their macronutrient is. Like, maybe somewhere down the line, if that becomes something that they want, but at that level, it's just about educating them on the basics first.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember my first training job. I had a client that had that. That was actually a real story. She used to leave. The gym was adjacent to a McDonald's.
Oh, boy.
She would go in there, and I would see her, and I would just stand outside the window like, what are you doing?
Oh, my God, really?
Yeah, I'd just be like, you just left me. You're sweaty still. You still smell like dumbbells, and now you're in a McDonald's.
Yeah,
I'm hungry.
Oh, man. One of my best friends, I coach him, and his biggest weakness is the fast food. And I'm just like, man, if you cut this out, like, you would look exactly the way you want. Like, that's your only problem. But
well, you're up there in Philly now, so you got cheese sticks.
Yes, that's the
Pat's-Gino's, brother. Pat's-Gino's.
You know what? I've been to one of them once, and I don't know which one it was. Oh. I'm a big cheesesteak guy, but I grew up in the suburbs, and there was like a pizza place on the a few blocks away that I would always go to, just like a mom and pop place. But they made the best cheesesteaks, so I never had to go far.
Do you ever find it amazing when you tell your clients, you're like, yeah, I had like an awesome slice of pizza. Oh my God, you eat pizza? Like,
oh,
they think we live in a vacuum.
Of course. Pizza and ice cream, that's my jam. But at the same time, like it's once a week, and whereas previously I might have eaten a full pizza, and now I'm eating a couple of slices.
Well, that's where you learn to enjoy it too. You stop demolishing it while watching a movie, and you're like, wow, this is actually really good.
Yeah, that's actually one of my biggest cornerstones is that I try to get other people and myself to, when you're eating, that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting at the kitchen table, you're not reading a book, you're not on your phone, you're not watching TV, you're just eating. I mean, and talking, that's okay. You're allowed to be social, but if your mind is on something else, especially like if you go sit down to a movie and you have a bag of chips, like you're gonna eat the whole bag. You're not gonna notice.
Yeah.
And it's not. Yeah.
Right. Like I've done it. Even in my healthy, educated state, I've been like, oh, I want to see this movie, and then whoever you're with is like, can we get a small popcorn? And you're like, okay, cool.
Right.
You know what? You're digging around in the bottom of the bag, banging around the kernels, and you're like, crap! I just ate a whole bag of popcorn.
Yeah, and it's not because you don't know better. It's just because in that situation, that's just what happens.
I know. I mean, you don't even make it out of the previews, and you come back for refills.
I know, right? So I saw you've been blogging since 2014, I guess.
Yeah, I started blogging not long after my first men's health experience because I was like, hey, maybe I should do something on the internet.
Okay, so let's start with men's health then.
Oh, geez.
So I actually submitted a video in 2014 as well.
Yeah.
But in the hundreds of applicants, I didn't rise to the top like you did.
Yeah.
So talk about what the competition was for and then your experience.
So the Men's Health Next Top Trainer was they were grabbing 8 fitness professionals from all different kind of disciplines and backgrounds to go to men's health facilities, if you will, and we filmed a reality show, kind of Top Chef style, where it was like, here's the challenge, whoever makes it moves on. And so it was very unique. I remember the first time I went up, I got a train from Union Station, went right up into New York City. It was ironically, been on the East Coast my whole life. First time I'd ever been in New York City, ever. I was like, oh my God, the city. Oh my God, audition. Like, this is what the big life is.
Yeah, right.
And, there I am in New York, just a small town boy. And I remember I went in there. I was so nervous that BJ Gador, welcomes me to the set. I'm already mic'd up. He's like, welcome. And all I said was, welcome. so like I answered him back with the same thing, and he kind of looked at me like, who is this idiot? But I talked, I've always been the type to kind of talk with my emotions on my sleeve. I was just like, told them whatever the questions they asked, answered them, and then I did my little 2-minute, go. And apparently it was enough. And once I made the show, I competed pretty well, but I will say not being in situations like that before proved itself challenging because when you're thinking on the fly, you say a lot of dumb stuff.
Oh, I'm your quintessential guy for that.
Yeah, I mean, I like my one-liners. I like being a little bit funny, yet still educational. And I went out on the first season on doing, I had a beach towel was my implement, and I had to sell it for 5 minutes. It's the best workout device in the world. So that was a bit of a challenge to keep coming up with exercises with a towel.
What did you come up with?
Well, my weakness was I didn't use it as like isometric tension enough.
That was exactly what I thought of. Yeah.
Better with that, but I was like, you can use it for abs or like a core plank. Like I used the corner and was doing like a plank pull through.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of smart. But,
yeah, I like that.
And they cut the video too because I did a 5-minute skit, so they cut the video so that you miss a lot of the exercises that I did.
And they just show you struggling to come up with anything.
Overhead squat.
Yeah.
Like tension in the lats.
I like that.
Squat. I was doing like a lunge and like row the boat. I didn't even know what to call it, but it was like a lunge and a row the boat.
That's a good anti-rotation thing, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things where I don't think I gave them enough, and so I was eliminated.
Okay.
Back for the vengeance this year. I had the flew out to Columbus, and was just like, hi, I'm back, you crazy people. audition, and I guess I wowed. I remember I got to meet Bill Hartman, and that was really cool.
Yeah, I saw that he was on there.
Such respect for him. I mean, the stuff he's doing with PRI and just how smart he is. I mean, I want to go out to his gym so bad.
Yeah, I'd love to meet him and Mike Robertson. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think we just buy like a small school bus and just go drive out there, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I bet we could recruit quite a few people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like that would be quite the road trip.
Yeah, just even I'm sure there are plenty of cool gyms along the way too.
Right.
And then that would be like our mecca.
Yeah, that would nice. That would be our pilgrimage. I think we'll talk after the podcast.
It's a good idea.
But yeah, so I went there and auditioned again, and then this year I didn't even make it out of the gate, man. First challenge wiped me out. So.
Well, so you were one of the 8 selected.
Twice.
Yeah. Again. Okay.
Yeah. So I made the show again, and then that first episode. Andy Spear, who won last year, put us through an absolute devastator of a workout. I got to be honest, my shoulders were fried in the first minute, and it was a 17-minute workout with like a 3-minute finisher.
Oh my god!
And, it was abusive, and like everything we did for like the first 3 minutes was in the push-up or plank position, and a lot of getting up and a lot of plyometrics, and so I don't know if it's just I wasn't ready for it.
You said you were sick.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you can't make excuses. So it's just one of those things where
the flu is a decent excuse.
Yeah, well, whatever. All I know is that I was sitting there, the lactic acid in my shoulders. I felt like I had concrete, and so I had to survive the rest of the workout.
Yeah.
And I decided at some point midway through, I was like, I'm not doing well, but I'm never going to stop. Like, I'm not going to stop moving. And that ended up being my critique. BJ Gador was like, you're so tired, you're moving very unathletically, like you're kind of struggling through these, you should take a break. And I looked at him dead in the eyes, and I was like, I'm not going to stop. Like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Like, I'm not going to just sit back and
That's an interesting dilemma, and I see both sides of it. Like, especially I'm a little bit into CrossFit, and the workouts are obviously timed for the most part, and so there's the mentality where you're just gonna take your pace and move the entire time and try to get to the finish, or you're gonna go hard for a little bit, relax, go hard for a little bit, relax. And I think different things work for different people. Yeah. You don't want to get to the above zone where you have to rest for so long, but taking a 10-second breather might actually make you go faster.
And looking back, I wish I can think of a specific moment where I could barely breathe. Everything was locking up, but I just found that extra gear. And if I would have taken 5 or 10 seconds, I think part of the stress, too, was it was playing catch-up with Andy. He was moving at another level. I mean, he's so light on his feet and hands, so his transitions weren't transitions. They were just, it was like blink, and he was already doing another exercise. So part of it was the stress of keeping up.
I'm not even sure that's a positive feature of someone who's leading an exercise.
Yeah, he was in and out. But, say what you will about it. It was a really cool experience, and it made me realize that, like, I really want to train and I really want to put myself out there. And I really just kind of want to subject myself to stressful situations like that. I enjoyed the competition. It reminded me very much of sports and stuff like that feeling in your belly. So, that's why I started the blog, and that's why my website in general. And then it led to a lot of other really cool opportunities and allowed me, the opportunity to even be here on this podcast. Otherwise, I'd just be another trainer just plugging away at his sessions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the coolest part about our like online fitness community is meeting cool people who you otherwise wouldn't meet, just because, we have mutual people that we know, and then we make this connection, and turns out we actually have more in common than we even would have thought in terms of...
you and I, we both love Newark.
Exactly. Klondike Kates, man.
Klondike Kates. Shout out to New York. Newark, not New York, sorry.
Yeah. So you started blogging, and you've the women's health thing. So you were picked as one of the 10 insanely in shape trainers of the 2015.
Yeah,
Did they just contact you? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. One of their editors, just they to amend it. There's an asterisk next to that because it has been found that they were drunk in the office when they were selecting. So I think they had beer goggles on when they were looking at me. But nevertheless, no, I'm just kidding. They reached out via email. They had done, I guess USA Today, I think, had done a list of America's top 10 fittest cities, and DC came in number 1 this year. And so I guess they were looking for trainers to represent, each city.
Yeah.
And they called me.
So how does it feel to be the most in shape trainer in DC?
It's a heavy title to hold.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
I found that other people think it's cooler than I do. I almost feel like
I know what you mean.
Whoa, what? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I could run for a while, and I like to think I'm decently strong, but that's a big title. So yeah, it's cool. Again, it kind of stacks up. In the moment, like when it first came up, I was like, "Go me!" And now it's like, I really try to be known more for the intellectual side,
Yeah.
And being able to provide quality information. But stuff like that is a really cool platform
Yeah.
for more eyes to come to you and be like, oh, wow, and this guy also knows what the heck he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because I think we have that in our industry. Is a lot of those charlatans out there that, like we talked about earlier, the bodybuilders that you're like, wow, that dude is absolutely yoked, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just moving objects through space and then eating a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's nice to see, what I hope is that my career goals all along have always been, I want to kind of be that bridge between a normal guy, fun to hang out with. We can go get a nice, neat bourbon, sit back, watch football, and hang out like a normal human being. But also I have this, skill set and knowledge base that allows me to extract elite human performance out of you, out of myself, out of anybody who seeks my ability. So while the women's health thing was a little bit like, oh, you're kind of good looking and you look good with a shirt off, like, sweet. But then, you throw the link to the website and hopefully somebody who clicked on that said, oh, I want to learn more about this guy.
Yeah.
And then they realize, wow, like that's good and actionable information.
Right. I agree with that 100%. So I'll do these videos of me doing crazy stuff upside down and hanging from one arm. But like, that's not really how I train. That's just what I do to try to draw people in. And then under the video is the link to my website, and I hope people will come there. And then they find out like I'm talking about biomechanics and like energy systems, and they're like, oh, well, this isn't quite what I expected, but hopefully I can learn something.
Well, I remember one of my first exposures to you were doing some crazy upside down. Like, I thought it was a muscle up, but I don't know exactly what it was. You were dominating the pull-up bar and moving in a way that I didn't think human beings could move from the shoulder joint. It was impressive. It was about a year ago. I'm gonna have to pull that up and then.
I'm always curious.
Try to see if
Yeah, like where people find me.
Yeah,
it's interesting to hear.
Well, I mean, you have a unique story yourself, which allows people. It draws people in, and it's like it's a marvel.
It's like I feel like I'm cheating sometimes. Like, I'm like, oh, people think that's cool because I have one leg, but I'm just like, I'm trying to give people the same information that everybody else is. But it's like people find me more interesting maybe because I have this different story. So
have you named any single leg exercises yet?
Not yet. I really think I need to do that. I did name one. So you know how there's like a front lever where you go like this? I did one where I was just holding it in like a neutral position. And I called that the Pollenator lever, but I don't know if it's stuck. I'll have to try to get a few more people to do it and call it that.
No, I was thinking about that the other day because when we talked about doing this, I made sure I looked up some of your stuff too, and I was like, man, like it's a little bit like because you take ownership of your situation, which I think is awesome. No matter what happens to you in this world, I happen to be friends with a decent amount of veterans who have had combat injuries, and one of my favorite things about them is that they take ownership over it, and they're just like, look, this is what it is. Nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I was talking to my girlfriend about that last night. I'm like, you can either like go cry in a corner or you can do everything that you want to do. And it's like never even occurred to me not to try to, maximize my performance. And
I was thinking, because I like to be clever like this. I was like, man, if I was him, like, what would my taglines be? Like, Travis Pollen, the Pollenator, the single leg king. Like,
it's funny, like whenever somebody writes something on social media about like a single leg exercise, I'm like the first person to be like, yeah, I do these in my sleep, and
yeah.
Everybody's like, thanks for killing the thread, Travis.
It's like somebody's like, check out my single leg RDL. You're like, every RDL I do is single leg.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
And game over. Thanks, Travis. This was fun. You showed up, and it's over.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, like, so I did a competition a few months ago at my friend's CrossFit gym, and it was all body weight stuff. So I walk in, and they're these big hulking guys, and I don't think that they expected anything from me, and I won. But it also it helps that I am 115 pounds when I take my prosthesis off, and these guys were all 175. So yeah. I have an advantage in that sense, but I'm also like, you're also only as strong as you are big. So
that's true.
Yeah,
that is way too true.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions. Oh, so the blog, I read a Superset piece by you that I really enjoyed. If you could talk about what are supersets and some of your favorite combinations.
So for me, supersets, when we all started lifting, we got into them with, the muscle magazines, and it was bis and tris, different shoulder exercises to get the pump. But as a trainer, we have two jobs: get our clients to their goals safely, but also maximize their time, especially as you start to charge more and more per hour. You have a responsibility to make sure that client's getting a decent amount of exercises in. What started it for me is I love coaching the deadlift, and I think the deadlift is the backbone of every client's program. Some version of it, whether it's a kettlebell, dumbbells, barbells, banded. I've been playing actually with resistance bands where you almost turn it into a front, like a lat pullover, and you hold that and just do it with the band. So it's a body weight deadlift.
So the resistance is pulling your shoulders into extension, into flexion, and you're holding that.
Take ownership, which is also a really great drill in between sets of heavy deadlift.
I really like that.
Ownership.
Yeah.
So even with people just to do that, so they can understand how to control their posture when they bend down, some form of deadlift is going to make it into the program. But then I found, well, if you really want to coach a deadlift, you could kick 45 minutes just talking bar speed and mechanics and foot position.
Yeah. So
what can we do once we get through that initial phase to boost the exercise intensity? And then it brought me back to supersets. And it's, it's not a novel idea, but for me, it's how can I take supersets to college was kind of my challenge to myself. And so I wanted to pair a compound lift or an exercise with something that not only increases metabolic rate or the effect of training, but also serves a function in terms of the exercise, the main focus. So you and I were talking about the deadlift and the doing either overhead press or pull-up, because it works on the shoulder packing that is so necessary for you to lift with an appropriate thoracic spine. And so at first it just started as like, all right, we'll do this kind of light, we'll do the coaching. And then I realized, the human body is a pretty resilient machine. So I'll have people do, a set of 5 deadlifts, and then I'll hand them a decent set of dumbbells, and they'll go 10 to 12 overhead, blocked feet, because an overhead press is a plank. And so when we take ownership of those movements and then really focus on shoulder packing at the bottom, good clean extension, elbow to ear at the top, then when they go back to the bar, their heart rate's still kind of kicking. They're getting that thermic effect, but they also have a better understanding of how far they can push their scapulae down when they grip that bar, and then they go back into their heavy, and so on and so forth. I try to avoid doing a lot of bench and row, though, because I find that if you're actually trying to bench heavy, if you row too much, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, it's because the one head of the chest is also extending the shoulder in the row. It's not exactly antagonistic the way you might think it was.
I remember seeing Tony Gentlecore post it years ago about like doing glute bridges during bench press because obviously you want that glute tightness and that tension in the backside.
Yeah.
But I've played around with in the past before I even read with that was like doing planks, some type of plank variation, and then bicep curls, like really lightweight bicep curls. Because if you think about keeping blood flow in the biceps are kind of like your brake pads when you're going down. They're not overly impactful, but they do have a function in the flat barbell press or a flat dumbbell press, and keeping that blood flow and keeping them ready for exercise is really good prep for a heavy bench.
So you're pairing curls with bench?
Or like a plank and then like really light curls. Like I want 65, 70%. I want them to go just until they're starting to get that little burn and that little tingling. And then I'll be like, all right, cool, we're done. Shake it off real quick, get under the bar, get your tension, and then do your reps.
So it's a tri-set of plank. I love it. Yeah, that's awesome.
For me, it's all about that core stiffening because I personally have always thought the bench was a really tough exercise because I played baseball most of my whole life, and a lot of coaches didn't want us benching a lot because of our shoulders, which, as we know, was a good move. But nonetheless, it was like, it was my weakest lift until I learned more about it. And then I quickly realized, wow, if you really squeeze your abdomen and you really have fluid shoulder movement, this actually gets a lot easier.
Yeah, and that you could say the same for almost any compound exercise, where if you really have a good awareness of your core, like you can lift so much more. But everything starts there. That was what I was thinking. By the way, I have a really sweet picture that I made one time of a plank that I turned sideways. It's like somebody planking like this, and then I turned it up vertically, and then there's a pull-up and an overhead press next to it, and I'm showing like why the anterior core is important, because you can lose engagement and then go into APT and back hyperextension. And all three of them are just a plank. The plank is a plank, but the back position is the same. I'll send it to you.
It's funny. I say that a lot, especially like in my group class. I have a microphone on, and I'm yelling and hooting and hollering over the music. And I'm like, here we go, lock in that plank. The plank is a press. And you always see a couple people like, what? I don't understand. Yeah. And then when you finally can explain it, it's funny. When you just show them against a wall, I'll even do that. I'll be like, imagine this wall as the floor, and then I'll just get into a plank on the wall. And they're like, okay. I'm like, all right, and then I step away, and I do a press, and I go, did anything change? And they were like, no. I was like, a plank is a press.
Yeah, and same thing with the kettlebell swing. In fact, I asked a question on an online forum the other day, and a guy I had just friended on Facebook messaged me. He's like, hey, call me. I was like, what? And he's like, I have an answer to your question. I was like, this is awesome. 1 sec. And he calls me and he's like, the question you're asking isn't really the right question. He's like, let me tell you how I coach it. And he was talking about a kettlebell swing where before they swing, he has the person master their kettlebell deadlift first. But then in a transition to swinging, he has them lying on their back and pressing into the floor to teach them how to get that full body tension. And he says, this is the position that I want you to maintain, like, for 90% of the swing. Like at the top, that's exactly how you're going to feel. You're going to feel like you're in a plank. And then at the last second is just when you lose that tension and push your hips back. And then you quickly regain it. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, mind blown.
Yeah. Well, what I find for the swing, too, is always a really good drill is even just have them set the kettlebell back behind them in the deadlift a little bit. Mm-hmm. So they're actually standing slightly in front just so they can get used to having to really force that hinge and reach behind them a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you start with something light that is manageable, but when you start getting up to a sizable weight, what you quickly see is there's like a mini swing in there, too, because they have to kind of throw their hips into flexion in order to get to the kettlebell in the first place. So they gotta have a flexion extension cycle even to get the kettlebell and stand up.
Yeah.
And so I find with the swings, if you go like a dead bug and like a behind the foot, heel width or a heel location kettlebell, mm-hmm. and then you do something like a lat pullover with bands and just get them used to their, where their hands stop. because I don't coach the American swing. I'll just say that right now.
Of course
anything above the nose never goes with me.
So. I like that.
Yeah, so I save the American swing for the people who have to do it, competition
or whatever,
but
yeah, that's
standard person.
That's fine.
The nose, chin, we'll keep it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing how we all have different ways of coaching things, and we all know where we're going. Like, he said he called you, like, I have the answer to your question.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that works, because he doesn't know you personally enough to know exactly how your thought process is.
And I like the longer story is that I was writing a blog post that I'm going to put out in a few days about using proprioceptive stimuli to reinforce what you're looking for. So the question I had asked was, how do you fix a squatty kettlebell swing? And I was looking for a video, which I then found. Nobody found it for me. I just searched for 24 hours YouTube to find the video of putting a box between the person's legs so that they can't squat the kettlebell swing because they'll hit the box. So it forces them to hip hinge it. And he was like, we don't want to do that because, one, they could just get scared of hitting the box and that's not going to help them with their swing. And we want to coach them into it so that you don't need something like that. But my argument is that in a group setting or something where you don't have time to one-on-one get the person from the floor to the swing over the span of a few minutes. You just want to fix it like that. And it was in conjunction with a bunch of other similar fixes to different exercises.
Yeah.
I liked what he said. I'm still going to write about the box with the swing. But it's cool to get these other perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of my favorite tools when I get somebody squatting like that is I think of, I forget where I saw it, but it was like standing over top of the landmine or a barbell jammed into a corner. And you have to hip hinge. Otherwise, your manhood and the barbell are going to meet. So, you just basically, you stand, I call them wicked witches. And so if you squat, you're going to give yourself a nice little Merry Christmas. Otherwise, you have to shoot your hips back. And that kind of, at the very least, while it may not directly correlate to a swing, it at least helps someone build that proprioceptive, okay, this is what he wants, this isn't. This is what he wants, this isn't.
Wow. So that's just when you're teaching the hip hinge.
Yeah, teaching a hip hinge.
I love that.
I forget where I saw that the first time, but
I've never seen that before. Because, there's I'll have somebody do it against the wall or I'll have them use a dowel rod, but that's great.
Yeah,
you can't go down, you're blocked. So you have to push your hips back.
And then the other thing is that for visual learners, the barbell creates the angle of the spine for you.
Yeah, so the here's the wall, here's the landmine, and you'll have a weight on it.
No weight usually. I'll just leave
the handles.
Just stand over top of the barbell. So here's a 90-degree wall and the flat floor. So you have them stand directly over top of the barbell, in between their legs.
Right.
Like they're riding a broomstick.
Yeah.
So at the very top, they just have their hands in a double-fisted position near the neck of the barbell, near the collar, and you tell them, all right, bend over but don't squat, and then they'll squat once and they'll probably almost ding themselves, and then you show them a little body cueing, and then typically what ends up happening is you get that nice 45-degree angle at the spine. The barbell's also at 45.
Right.
They have full extension, and then you can even coach shoulder pinching, pushing from the hips without tilting from the hips.
I'm requesting a video of this.
Okay. When I go in. Again, I can't claim that. I know I saw that somewhere else.
Nobody ever invents anything themselves, right?
Right. We don't. No trainer invents the wheels, which is in itself a problem in and of itself in the fitness industry. Is all the guys out there that are like, oh, train with me and you'll get top secret things that no trainer has ever known before.
Yeah.
Those drive me crazy.
Yeah, I'm fully aware that I never came up with anything novel on my own, but I like to think that I have a good way of packaging the information.
And that's ultimately what I think that's, relates way back to a question is the growth as a trainer is when you learn that it's not about necessarily what you do, because we all eventually end up doing very similar things. It's how well do you package the information and how well can you adapt it to the client themselves or to the situation.
Yep.
You know, for me, being a strength coach, you know, with the CSCS, I got the USAW, all that stuff. For me, I'm very analytical with the biomechanics. I really like to program. I really like to get in the nitty-gritty. But then I teach a group exercise class that seems like a free-for-all. Like this Friday, we did 54 exercises in an hour. Yeah. But, you know, to the outside looking in, people might think it's just this chaotic thing. But the thought that goes into what we're pairing together, what we're running together, you know, when I do like an ab set to let their heart rate come down, I'm doing a little bit of glutes in there too. I'll sneak in some dead bugs and then do some lower abdominals, then some upper, a lot of obliques. I even worked in a serratus move. Like, I was
like something where you're in a push-up and you're like...
Similar, but laying flat on your back, and I use the jump ropes in the room, and you pull the jump rope, the tension, and you have your hands wider than your body.
Okay.
You just do a crunch from the shoulder blades. So I tell them to kind of reach for the ceiling above their eyes without lifting their chest. So they're only really moving the shoulders.
Very cool.
And if you do it correctly with a little bit of load when you're a little bit stronger, you can really burn.
Oh, yeah.
It sneaks in there.
That's cool. Yeah. That's especially cool because usually when you're on your back and you're bench pressing, you're keeping your shoulder blades pinned.
Yep.
But like that's kind of an arbitrary thing to lift more. But if you want to work on your serratus, and I think people actually have a really hard time when they're doing it in the push-up, getting that movement. So if you have them on their back, that takes the core stability part out of the equation.
And when it comes to thoracic mobility and shoulder mobility, I try to simplify it as much as possible too, because I feel like what people can't see, they really struggle at, especially if they're, you know, I call it body dumb. And it's like, the good thing about being dumb is that you can get smarter. So being body dumb is not a permanent disease. It's something we can work on. But when you get somebody that's like, I don't know what my shoulder is, and they're sitting there doing the stanky leg, and you're trying to get them to do a bicep curl, and you're just like, all right, this is going to be a work in progress, but how can I simplify this down to the absolute bare necessity to get the training effect, teach you something, and not make me want to jump out that window over there because I can't figure it out. That's
amazing. So like if you have somebody who's really not moving from their scapula in a push-up or a row, then you're going to superset it on their back with holding a jump rope and just doing that.
Yep, and then even that, or I'll have them lay right on an ab mat and just make big old circles with like a slider or a towel, and I will just physically grab onto their scapula so they can feel it. Not so hard it's pain or a trigger point, but enough that they know I'm there, and I'm going to kind of urge rotation or urge movement, and then I'll do sphinx poses or up downs or different things, and I'm like, do you see, you can move these bones, you have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, it's a mind muscle thing.
Well, I've never been one to shy away from physical contact either. I think there's a certain amount that's obviously inappropriate.
Yeah, you're not manipulating their T-spine.
Yeah, you're not trying to crack their spine, and you're not being, like I have a lot of young females, and a lot of people joke, they're like, oh, you're always doing like shoulder manipulations. You just want to rub their shoulders. I'm like, no, not at all. You know what it is? It's this girl has no idea how to move her shoulder blades, and I'll do it with an 85-year-old guy too if I have to. Like, our job is to know the science. Their job is to do whatever their job is. They have an hour with you, so you have to get that information into them whichever way possible. I try to coach it, but if it's just a brick wall, then I'm gonna be like, all right, this is your scapula.
Yeah,
move it.
I mean, you have to sometimes put your hands on people and be like, okay, here's the muscle that you want to feel working. Do you feel it working?
Yeah, I think the craziest thing I've ever done to like force a movement because I just really was not getting anywhere, and he's actually one of my best clients. He still works with me 5 years later. I had him grab onto like a vertical structure. I forget if it was the power rack or not. I wrapped like a band around his waist, and then I pulled to get him into a hip hinge. And I was like, don't let go of that pull, and don't overbend your knees. And he said, okay. And I just started pulling, and like at first it was like resistance, and then once he relaxed, it was like, boom, right into it wasn't pretty, but it worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like I'm rallying, cattle right now, but it worked. It finally put him in the position of a hip hinge, which in and of itself was.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you can tell somebody a million times to fold at their hips and not their knees, and they still do it, to, yeah, grab onto the bar and pull them into it.
I think you can even look sometimes, especially when you get people who didn't play sports as a kid, there's a lot of movement deficiencies. So again, relating back to a lot of my clients are successful doctors and lawyers and you name it. And so not all of them had, even medium level sports backgrounds. For me, a hip hinge came very naturally because I played infield in baseball. And so even though it's a little bit of a staggered stance, you kick your hips back, get your glove to the dirt.
Yeah.
Your chest is kind of.
Yeah, you're not going to like round over and do that. Because then you need to stand up quickly and throw the ball, and that's your hip extensors are going to get you there faster.
Exactly. So I think that's goes way back to what we were talking about. It's like when you learn about the client and you really listen what they're about, where they've been, what they're trying to accomplish, injuries, you name it, you actually sit down and listen. You suddenly, training is the easy part.
Very cool. 2 more questions.
All right, let's knock it.
So you have a bunch of additional certs beyond just the CPT. So you have your CSCS, FMS, USAW, PN. Can you pick a favorite?
Ooh.
And then are there any others that you want to get?
My favorite cert was the USAW, just because it was a weekend long workshop, a lot of clean and jerk and snatch, and like that was just cool. Meeting a whole bunch of guys, one of which it was a class down here in DC, and then I took a tour of Cressy's, and he was an intern up there, and I was like, what the small world. And just, that community feel we get when you get a bunch of fitness professionals or even people who just wanted to know how to clean, snatch, and jerk correctly. So as far as the experience, that was cool. But the CSCS, obviously Mike Boyle's got his thing, the CFSC. You have Exos doing their thing. But it's really cool to really dive down into what year-long programming looks like, even if it's just in terms of an athlete. Because when you start thinking, okay, this is the progression of this exercise, this is why we're doing it, because next year we can do this, or you understand load and intensity and volume variations.
Yeah.
It really changes how you program for your clients,
That's amazing.
It makes you value going lighter. It makes you value going heavier. I've seen more success since my CSCS. I don't even really work with athletes that much, but clients deadlifts, they'll be like, oh, I want to go heavier. And I'll be like, I don't know. Like, I think this week we're going to back down. We're going to refine that technique. We're going to go into that burn a little bit. And then next week we'll see what happens. And they come back the next week and they set a PR, and you're like, see, a little deload week did you well. Yeah,
you can't go heavy all the time. And in order to maximize your strength, sometimes you have to back off.
Exactly. I have a mid-30s client. She's awesome. And she wants me to write about her every now and again, too. I just haven't had a way. She's Ukrainian. So first of all, she talks like this. It's awesome. And she's super hardcore. She's pulled 245 from the floor. And that was in the beginning when I was kind of assessing her, and I just kind of kept adding plates.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
She should compete. Okay. Keep that on the DL.
She knows what it's. But one week I was like, all right, we're going to deadlift. She's like, yes, I feel strong today. I was like, but we're doing 5 by 20. She goes, what? I was like, yeah, we're going to do really, really light.
Yeah.
But we're going to make you burn, and we're going to do a cardio response. She was sore for 3 or 4 days, and I probably should have kept it at 4 by 20.
Yeah.
100 reps is a lot, but she got 100 repetitions of hip hinging at a weight in which her form wasn't collapsing.
Yeah.
Right? Because once we hit a certain load, no matter how
it's not going to be perfect.
Something's going to collapse.
Right.
And so she was able to refine out, I would say 91, 92 of her 100 reps were just perfect.
Yep.
And so she was sore in all the right places. The next week came in 255. And I was like, there it is. And then she has gotten 275 to the hips, but she can't get her butt to finish.
Yeah.
Because her grip. So I'm debating whether or not I'm going to let her use my straps, but I don't know. I'm trying to make her earn it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make her earn it.
No, it's not the end of the world, but obviously, all natural.
At CSCS, where you learn that sometimes the best deviation is to just back off.
Yeah. And I really like the high reps just from a mental toughness standpoint too. Like anybody can go in and crank out like 5x5 or 3x3. Like, I mean, that's hard and you have to lift heavy and concentrate. But when you get into like the 17, 18, 19, 20th rep, like, yeah, it's as much mental as it is physical.
Oh, and it's spiritual too, man. I've said a lot of prayers at the bottom of a squat.
Yeah, well, especially in a squat, because it's not quite life or death, but you sort of see things flash before your eyes.
When you hit that apex point, you just kind of quickly realize, all right, I'm either going to get up and I'm going to be awesome, or I'm going to have to stay here until I fall.
Yeah. I once read a T Nation article that Charles Staley wrote comparing the squat and the deadlift, and I thought it was really fascinating because he says on the deadlift, you have to psych yourself up a little bit more, because if you decide not to pick it up, nothing bad is going to happen. But when the squat, like, it does that for you, because if you don't stand it up, you're trapped.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, there's a certain level of activation once that bar hits the back
Mm-hmm.
and you're standing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like you automatically engage your core on that, whereas in the deadlift, you could go in willy-nilly. So you have to teach people, like we were talking about with the band, supersetting that with the deadlift, or just doing that on its own. Like, you kind of have to reinforce that.
Yeah, it's amazing how certain exercises have a way of going, oh crap, I'm exercising now. Right? Like, you can kind of just, once you master a few pull-ups, you can kind of just hang in a pull-up bar, bang out a rep, and it's like not too much. But then, you go over and get under a really heavy overhead press. It's the same motion, arms from here, arms to here.
Yep.
But once you have that load and it's sitting there at your chin height, you're like, oh crap, I gotta get this over my head. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother level of activation.
Yeah, that's a beautiful comparison too. A friend of mine, I went to a workshop, he's a PT or a physical therapist, and he says this position and this position are the same position that you're using in a pull-up and an overhead press. And I go, oh my God. Like the same way you want to be tight here in your lats at the beginning of an overhead press is the same position that you want to be able to get in at the top of at the bottom of an overhead press and at the top of a pull-up. Like, yeah. You don't want your shoulders shrugged. You don't want your arms splayed out like that. It's just all compact.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how little nuances like that, even when you're a qualified professional, again, just hearing something slightly different, you go, oh crap, like that is absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
Amazing. And why did I not think of that?
Yeah, I like that word, breathtaking.
Well, it's, I call it the Uber effect. Being here in the big city, I've used Uber more than I would like. But when you think about it, Uber is the easiest idea ever if you've ever been in a cab, right? If you've been in a cab and it smells like gasoline, homeless people, and like takeout food, you go, wow, getting around the city would be a lot nicer if I was sitting in the back of like a clean Mercedes or a clean Honda, and it would be kind of cool. Or, oh wow, this taxi never fits all of my friends. If they had SUVs, that would be awesome. And then you get insert Uber billion-dollar company, and you're just like, oh, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
The same thing happens in fitness. You're like, oh yeah, I've been coaching it this way. And then somebody goes, oh, I just do this. And you go,
yeah. Like you take like 18 minutes to explain something, and then somebody tells you, oh yeah, in a hex bar deadlift, put your butt back and keep your chest up. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's all it is.
You're just like, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite cue for the deadlift too is just push into the floor.
Yeah.
Push into the floor, like leave your footprint
on
the floor.
That's something Mike Robertson wrote about. Feel your whole foot and push into the floor.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so big on the shoes off thing. And it was funny because being in a corporate type facility, the minute you take your shoes off, they're like, ah.
Yeah, there's probably a sign on the wall that says don't do that, but screw those people.
There's also a sign on the wall that doesn't, it says don't lift more than you can without the assistance of a trainer. So I break that too. So.
All right. For more information on you, where can people find you?
So I'm at kevinmullinsfitness.com. So KevinMullins fitness.com. I'm trying to tweet at FFT Training, Kevin.
I
don't think about it enough.
Twitter's
so if you do follow me, sorry.
Twitter's my arch nemesis.
Dude, I struggle with Twitter. Like, I like Facebook. I like all that stuff. But, like, the Twitter, it's
not real personal. The kids, right?
I Twitter stuff like a champ, though. Like, I am up on the NFL injuries, and I'm reading CNN, and I know what's going on in the world. But as far as me saying something, like, had a great burrito, thanks, Chipotle.
Yeah. Thanks at Chipotle. See, then if...
See, I even forget the ad.
Yeah,
I don't even tweet at people. I just talk to the universe.
Nobody sees it. I don't know. I'm with you. Even Instagram, I'm like, I don't really... I need to be able to have a link that you can click. Like this whole check the bio for the link. Like, nobody's going to do that.
Well, not only that, but it's like just too many apps. Like, you can take pictures with Twitter. You can do pictures with Instagram.
Yeah, I know.
It has filters. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought, for the longest time, I thought Twitter was just the status thing. And then I see, like, videos and pictures and, like, when did this happen?
Post GIFs.
Yeah.
Which is game-changing because some of the GIFs I've seen have been glorious.
Did you ever
makes my day better.
Did you ever see Brett Contreras' hip thruster GIF where he's following you with his eyes and he says, like, never look someone in the eye when you're hip thrusting?
We need to have a secondary podcast just about that, because that is the exercise that needs to be in everyone's program. But as a male trainer and a female client, you never know where to stand.
Oh, wow.
You're just like, I don't know where to put myself right now. That's a joke more so than anything else. But
seriously. I mean, you can't be like hovering over them. That looks weird.
And a lot of them don't, like you can teach them how to mount, especially when you're elevating. Like, he has that hip thruster bench. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really hard to set up without it.
So I'll have to like deadlift the weight, kind of sit it on their hips or on the AirX pad, and then back away. But then you're like, well, I'm not going to stand here because then you're thrusting at me.
All right, I got two solutions for you. One is just to start it from the floor instead of the hips extended position. So if you have to have bumper plates.
Yeah, I have bumpers.
So then they can just slide the bar over their feet and start it from the ground. And then two is slightly less, not as good from a logistical standpoint, but if you have aerobic steps on either side, then you can have the plates on the aerobic steps, and then they can start it in the up position and just lift off a little bit and then use their arms to throw the steps away.
That's the best idea. Oh my God.
I didn't think of it myself, but I've seen it work.
About elevating the plates.
Yeah. And even I've seen, so when Brett does it on his hip thruster, he actually has little mats underneath the plates. So he's not using the full range of motion to the floor. And even sometimes, like, if he wants people to maintain constant tension for the metabolic stress, he's not even having them touched all the way down.
Well, that's in and of itself is its own exercise. I feel like when you start going partial ranges of motion, that's actually almost like a separate exercise.
Yeah, that's going to be more for your hypertrophy, and then if you're trying to do it for a strength movement, then you might pause at the bottom or do a reset at the bottom.
Yeah, it's amazing too what happens when everybody else, like the running speed. Even I have a lot of clients who love doing the races. We got like the Army 10 mile and the Marine Corps marathon, all that stuff here in DC. And, I get them doing hip thrusters, and they're just like, what does this have to do with running? And then they go take a long mile run after a couple of months of thrusting and deadlifting, and they go, oh my God, that was the easiest run I've had in a long time.
Yeah, I've
your butt works.
Talked to Brett about that before, and he says that like when he was first starting out incorporating it with his clients, he said people were coming in and just being like, this is making me run faster. And I know it's this exercise. He's like, how do you know? And they're like, I just know. And now the studies that he's doing is starting to back that up, that the horizontal force production is that the squat and the deadlift don't precisely mimic that the hip thrust do is what's getting this better transfer.
And it's amazing how much work he does with just one movement too, man. He is always studying hip thrust.
Oh man, if he has a blog post, and a lot of the videos are actually from Ben Bruno, but
Yeah.
it's like 100 different hip thrust variations.
Which is absurd to think that there's that many variations.
Like I don't even know if there are that many squat variations, but there probably are. But the number of different ways that you can do the hip thrust.
Are we allowing jumping in the squat?
Yeah, because there are jumping hip thrusts. Check out Ben Bruno. I think it's single leg jumping hip thrusts.
Are you just jumping into the air and humping it?
Yes. And then the thing I wonder about is how that, I never tried it, but if it really jams your heel at impact when you come back down, because in a jump squat, you're going to land on the ball of your foot and then absorb it and come back down. So actually, maybe he does the same thing. I have to watch the video again.
Yeah, now you gave me homework, because now I want to see this, because like a jumping hip thruster is unique.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Travis.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast.
All right.
We'll have to do episode 2 sometime soon.
Yeah, or maybe we'll just flip it and I'll interview you.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
We want to know what the Pollenator has in store.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks a lot, Travis.
All right, thank you.